welcome back to the Starfighter podcast. I'm the host, Torres. As always, we're going to be talking about the Mandalorian Season 2 finale. Super excited to talk about this, but first, let's introduce the guys that we got today. Our co-host, Jake, how you doing?
Doing good as always.
Good to see you back. And our special guest, my nephew, Ethan, how you doing, man?
Doing good. Glad to be here.
I know. I mean, let's try to contain the excitement a little bit. Let's try and start from the beginning, because it'll be really easy to just jump off and go right to the big reveals. But we're going to start at the beginning. Oh my gosh. Just so crazy. Let me start off by saying this episode meant more to me than you will ever know.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
We start off right out of the gate with Slave One chasing down this Imperial shuttle that has Dr. Parshing on it. And I'm going to throw this over to Jake. Take us through this scene, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on particularly Cara Dune and how she's incorporated into this scene.
Yeah, really cool way to start the episode. Just kind of comes out guns blazing right there. You can kind of feel initially that they're trying to speed this up, right? They got like one episode to clear all of these plot lines. But they did a good job of it. We always love to see the Slave One in action. Just the sounds that it makes, brings back memories. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, it was definitely a little bit of an interesting conversation with Dr. Parshing there. So we do learn that he's a clone engineer. So I think that pretty much 100% confirms, like we had talked about, that they're trying to capture Grogu for Palpatine to clone him. That's definitely what it seems like to me. But he's definitely a character. He starts antagonizing Cara Dune there because he knows that she's from Alderaan, and he mentions that he was on the Death Star, which is pretty cool. But it definitely adds a little bit more to her character since we learned that knowledge and really what she's fighting for. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know if you picked it out before, but I guess it was revealed that the emblem like on his shoulders from Camino.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't notice.
Ethan, you have any thoughts on this? The intro?
No, I think it was a really good scene. I think we saw a different side of Cara that we hadn't seen before in Mandalorian. You could see that the pilot really got under her skin, and I think it's just interesting to see more depth to these Imperial characters that we haven't really seen before. And I thought it was a really good opening scene, and it really got it going.
Yeah, definitely. We'll cut into the next scene. We land on this planet. I was curious if either of you know the name. I don't know if it was just Navarro again.
I couldn't tell personally.
From the episode, I don't think there's anything really.
Because I was wondering, how did he even find Bo-Katan, but I don't know. Anyways, who cares? It's an awesome episode.
Yeah.
So as soon as we come and land, I'm excited because I know that ship anywhere from watching Clone Wars and Rebels. I love Bo-Katan's ship. I was hoping that she would be back, and we get to see her again. Ethan, tell us about this scene. What you enjoyed in particular when we find Bo-Katan and Sasha Banks' character in the cantina.
Yeah, so I think her character goes by Reeves, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this scene inevitably it came up to a fight between Reeves and Boba. But the most interesting part to me, I think, was Bo-Katan calling out Boba on being a clone, which hadn't really been done in the series yet. There have been jabs at the fact that he's a clone and that people recognize him, but it hasn't been just thrown out there yet. And so I think the mood shift of when Boba actually starts talking and you can just tell, like she could tell that he was a clone, it was instantly a different tone. And it just led into a really good brawl, I think, between the two, and actually seeing Boba in some action, because last episode we didn't really see anything, and the rest of this episode we didn't see anything. But I think it was a good fight to see that Boba still has it, and it was really entertaining.
Yeah, great point. Jake, did you want to add anything?
No, I think he hit it on the head there. That was pretty cool. Obviously, the after effects of episode 3, maybe we'll get to see that sometime of what Bo-Katan went through with all the clones there on Mandalore there. So it definitely has some history. But yeah, I think that was really cool to call him out like that. But it didn't seem like Din Djarin even cared. Like it was news to him, but like he's just so whatever. He's so focused on getting Grogu back. It's like, just stop with all this stupid crap. Come on, let's hop on the plane. Let's get going.
Definitely. And so we're back on the ship. The crew is coming up with a team. Bo-Katan decides to go along and help them out. They're coming up with a plan. Dr. Parshing is helping. He's got zero loyalty to the Empire. Like he doesn't care. He's given them everything that they need from the plans, how to get inside, where Grogu is at. And so they come out of hyperspace, and Boba Fett is pretending to shoot them down. The rest of the crew is in the shuttle, the stolen shuttle. I really love this scene. Jake, how did you feel about it?
No, yeah, I thought it was definitely a cool way of getting in there, and it worked out pretty well. I mean, I thought Moff Gideon might have understood what was going on, but by the time the one commander there sent out the TIE fighters, it was kind of too late. The door was open basically. But no, I thought that was pretty cool. And then Boba Fett just being Boba Fett was cool. Like as soon as it's the whole ploy is over, he's like, all right, bam, bam, take out these TIE fighters, and then I'm out of here. And that was the last we saw of him. It would have been kind of cool if he stuck around, but we'll learn later why he's out of there.
Yeah, I felt like Bo-Katan was really convincing, and how she was calling out to them. You know, they're being chased down, and they need to do an emergency boarding. I thought that was pretty cool. Also, Ethan, anything you wanted to add to this scene?
I just like the fact that he brought out how Parshing had zero loyalty to the Empire. You know, before, when they're trying to figure out how they're going to get in there and what they're going to do, they're planning on very few troopers in there. And out of nowhere, he's just like, oh, but by the way, there's a bunch of dark troopers on there, and you're probably going to want to take them out. And I just thought it was funny to see that. And every time we've seen this character, he's always like a coward, I feel. And I think it'll be funny to see him probably in the future like that again.
For sure. So they crash the shuttle inside, and we get a lot of girl power coming down that ramp and shooting all these troopers down. Din's able to start his way, making his way towards Grogu, towards the prison cell. He runs into some trouble with one of the dark troopers, but he's able to take him out using the Beskar staff, which we know, like, the season is, or last few episodes have really been leading up to him using that staff, and so we get to finally see that. And then he sends the other dark troopers out of the airlock. At first I was like, that was pretty easy. You know, I guess we don't have to worry about them, but we'll see that they come back into play later. He finally makes it to Grogu's prison cell. We have Gideon holding the blade up to Grogu. Give us your thoughts on this scene. I'll throw it back to Ethan on the conversation, and then the fight that Din and Gideon get into.
Yeah, I think this show has done a really good job throughout the series of, without any info from Rebels or Clone Wars, of explaining the Darksaber to a newer audience. And this scene just really drives home the point that it's not just another sword, that there's more power lying behind it, and it means more than just a weapon. And I think Gideon does a good job at explaining that. And so I think this scene and the scene after it really it really just adds to the power of this sword and its background without any other knowledge of its history. And so I think the lead up was really good, and then the fight itself I think was really great. I think just right off the bat, the Darksaber looks amazing in this show. The CGI on it is perfect. We saw a different fighting style from Mando that I think is really cool. We've never seen even when Ahsoka was fighting. I can't. It's blanking me.
Yeah, the magistrate.
Yeah, exactly. It was a completely different fighting style from what we saw Mando using, and I thought it was really cool to see that versus an actual saber, and it was a really good fight. I don't think Gideon was as skilled as I thought he would be, but I thought Mando did a really good job, and the choreography was really great.
Yeah, great points. I feel like you definitely tell, like, even though he's always using his blasters, like he's had some sparring practice for sure. Like he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
Jake, any input on this?
Yeah, no, I thought the fight scenes were pretty dang cool. It was really switched from him fighting the Dark Trooper and him just showing his grit and just taking beatings to the face over and over and over. But then once he gets his spear back, yeah, he seems very skilled with it. And it was really cool because we always just see two lightsabers, right? It's like two swords fighting against each other. But this style of sword versus spear was really cool and how they did it. And it was interesting to see Moff Gideon has clearly no honor. Like they were going to make that deal and then he just turns against them. Kind of saw it coming, but it's like, come on, dude. That was pretty
So, of course, Din Djarin, he gets the better of Gideon. He cuffs him. He's got the saber now, and he brings Gideon along with Grogu into the bridge with the rest of the team. And Bo-Katan's not as happy as we think she would be to see Din holding that saber. Jake, talk to us about this scene, and like Ethan kind of mentioned earlier, why it's so important, not just to this episode, but to the story now, and most likely in season 3.
Yeah, so like Ethan brought out, for those who didn't know, Moff Gideon explains the power that comes from the sword, that it lets you have the right to the throne of Mandalore. But then we get the extra info that you have to win it in a duel. You can't just give it to somebody, which I thought that was a pretty funny scene because she's all pissed off. And then he's like, just take it. And then she knows she can't because, I mean, nobody would respect her for that and follow her lead. So, yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. We'll have to see where it goes from here because they're still all together. And at the end, he's still wielding, he still has the Darksaber. And we know that Bo-Katan isn't just going to back down. This is like her goal in life, to get that back into rural Mandalore. But I mean, but then on the other side, Din Djarin's not, it's not like he's going to fight her really. So we'll kind of have to see how that plays out.
Yeah. And I mean, it's really interesting because for the big fans like that have seen Rebels, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense right off the bat because if you followed the storyline, spoilers, it's a spoiler show. Sabine gave Bo-Katan the Darksaber in Rebels. So have the rules changed since, Bo-Katan last had the saber? I mean, we always knew the background was pretty similar to what we're hearing now, that the saber has power. The story is what really has power and allows you to have the right to the throne. But why was Sabine able to give it to Bo-Katan? Why does she have to now fight Din Djarin for it? You have any more input on that, Jake? And then we can toss it over to Ethan.
Yeah, we don't really see too much of Mandalore once Sabine leaves and all the rebels do. So maybe she did not really get the trust and respect of the people there. If she tried to lead them and it didn't work out so well. Maybe Mandalore still had huge Imperial ties. So maybe instead of trusting her as their leader, they wanted to have somebody in the Imperials to be their leader. And then Moff Gideon shows up and he apparently beats her. That's not very good. So she can't just show back up and be like, hey, this Mandalorian gave me this, I'm your leader, guys. That wouldn't probably work out. So yeah, I think it is a kind of a new rule, but I think possibly the events after Sabine's departure kind of changed the rules there.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. Ethan, anything to add?
Yeah, I think Jake has a point. In order for it to all make sense, there has to have been something else that happened after in order for the rule to change. Because at the time, Bo-Katan was completely okay with taking that saber when Sabine offered it. And Sabine got it the same way Mando did. She fought Saxon for it, right? So there had to be more after that encounter in order for this to still follow the same. And so I'm curious to see if there's anything more that will come of that. But yeah, otherwise, I think it was really cool just to that Gideon knew that was going to happen. That he was still smart enough to be like, okay, well, it's not over yet. You know, you're still gonna have to fight and figure this out for yourselves.
Good point. So now we hear this alarm, and the Dark Troopers are back. They're flying back into the ship, and they're headed over to the door. They're pounding on this door. Really, we feel the tension building up as the team gets ready with their blasters and everything, but it's not feeling like a battle that they can really win on their own. And then we hear the alarm again. And we see the X-Wing fly by. Come on, guys. I'm like, John, don't play with me, man. Like, if you're gonna do this, it better be him. We speculated that a Jedi would come. They're looking down at the cameras in black and white. We see this cloaked figure. He's starting to fight these Dark Troopers. And then we finally get to see the green blade, the black glove. He's back. Luke Skywalker is back. He's tearing it up. 1 second. Because for all the non-believers, can I just say, he's back, man.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And frankly, if you don't like it, you can leave the show. No, don't. It's a brand new show. We need you to stick around. We need you to stick around. But I love, yeah, please. But I was losing my mind because this is exactly what I wanted. One, I wanted Bo-Katan to come back in this episode. Two, I wanted Luke to come. It just, not only was it just amazing, and yeah, call it fan service, don't really care. It made sense because Luke's the most powerful Jedi in the galaxy at this time. How is he not going to sense Grogu when he calls out, with the beacon? It just makes sense. Ethan, what were your thoughts on this scene?
It's funny because when you see the X-Wing, my mind immediately goes to Luke. And when you see him, his outfit, it's still at Luke. But there's still some part of me the entire time where it's like, maybe it's not. It's like, maybe it's not Luke. Even after I saw the glove and the green lightsaber, I'm like, maybe it's not though. Like, who knows? But yeah, I thought this scene went really well. And it kind of just confirmed for me that the only reason the Dark Troopers were here was to get torn up by Luke. And I'm really happy with it too, because I got very similar feelings to when Vader's scene in Rogue One, when he was just tearing apart rebels. And we haven't seen Luke in like a fight that was like that before. It's like when you think of the original trilogy, it was like, yeah, there's some duels and stuff, but it was never as paced as this was. And and especially in the sequels, you never saw him doing stuff like this either. And so I think it kind of just proved to the point that he is the strongest Jedi right now, and just how skilled he was. And it was really cool to see him going through there and doing his job. I really like this scene. It was definitely a very good fan service for everyone.
Yeah, before we throw it over to Jake, yeah, Ethan's right. We haven't seen Luke like this in the films yet. but we knew he was capable of it. Not just because we've been around Luke in the movies and stuff, but in old legends, which used to be canon, like the Dark Horse comics, or more importantly, like the Timothy Zahn books, like this was Luke Skywalker, and it was just amazing to be able to finally see Luke. And look, I like The Last Jedi, but even I can admit this is the Luke Skywalker that maybe we don't deserve, but it's the Luke Skywalker that we need. Jake, tell us about it.
Yeah, no, I think I definitely have opinions on that too. That episode 8, that was just Mark Hamill acting as himself and not so much Luke. But this is so him just from the very beginning, just how calm his presence is. I mean, he's not running through anything. He's just calmly walking along, deflecting everything that he needs to, and just the pace in which they did this scene was so cool because Mandalorian and Bo-Katan and everybody was just waiting. Like they can't do anything. They're just basically hiding, and they're like, "Who is this guy? Is he good? Is he bad?" And then we're all trying to figure out who he is, and it's like I'm trying to remember. It's like which hands got cut off, which one is he wearing the black glove in, and I'm just trying to look at his hands the entire time. But no, that it was really cool to see him like this.
That scene where it's just his fist and he's like crushing the Dark Trooper, so unnecessary, but also you just love to see it,
Mm.
It was awesome. So finally, Luke makes his way to the bridge. They let him in. Din Djarin opens the door for him, and he pulls up the hood. I think we can all agree. We saw the CGI. We didn't care for it too much. Probably could have been handled different. I wasn't too upset about it because they didn't really show his face for too long, which I think they shouldn't, especially if they're going to go this way. I would have preferred Sebastian Stan. Not only does he look like him, like a younger Mark Hamill, but he's an awesome actor, but it's what they chose to do. In the end, I'm okay with it, mainly because I want to focus on just like Luke and how he was wrecking those troopers. But Jake, tell us about this, your thoughts on this reveal, and also this final scene that we get, and basically the goodbye and the farewell to Grogu and the end of season 2.
Yeah, I mean, I did love it. I know everybody loved it so much, but I'm going to be a little bit critical of it because, yeah, that CGI was bad. I thought first of all, his hair looked really funky, which was kind of strange because we've seen Mark Hamill recently and he's kind of sporting that same hairstyle. We've seen him in the terrible Uber Eats commercial that he does. God, I hate those commercials so much. It's so bad. But it was kind of really reminiscent and probably a little bit worse of Superman and Justice League, where they had a CGI his mustache out. And I almost guarantee Mark Hamill didn't shave for this role. That might have given too much away if people saw him in public like that. But yeah, it did look weird. That was my big critique of it. Again, Sebastian Stan, anybody else, I think they should have recast him. Just cast somebody who looks like him and then CGI it to make it look more like him. I feel like that would be easier and get a little bit better quality. But it was interesting to see this because this probably means we're not going to see Luke in the future, or very much of him. So I was kind of wishing it was somebody like Ezra who could be more of a main character. But because it's so CGI heavy, I doubt they'll have very many scenes with him in next season. But it was cool to see. And again, this is the real Luke. Just walks in completely stoic. I mean, he's basically expressionless. And that's how he was in the trilogy too. So that was pretty cool to see. I mean, you think in episode 8, if that Luke Skywalker saw another Yoda, he would be flipping out. But no, he's just so straight laced. He's like, all right, let's go. But I didn't care for his face. The face that I do want to see is Pedro Pascal, right? That was the great goodbye. I think it was really cool the way that they did it. Definitely had a lot of emotion. We know this probably won't be the end of their relationship forever, but yeah, it was pretty cool to see what he's willing to do for Grogu.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, and just to add to your point, I'm definitely okay with not seeing like Luke maybe ever again. Uh, I mean, the story is about the Mandalorian, and now it's kind of about Grogu too. But um, they're doing it just so well because, like, some people were saying online that bringing Luke back is gonna like shrink the universe. That's the term that they like to use a lot. But really, if it's just for the scene and if it makes sense for the overall story and the timeline, it's not. And it's the same thing with Ahsoka. It's like she can be a main character in her own story, but in The Mandalorian, she's a brief side character that just comes along to serve a particular purpose. And it was the same thing that we saw with Luke. Ethan, what do you think about this scene and the closing goodbyes?
I thought you guys summed it up really well. I think I like okay, yeah. I think we've all been honest about the CGI. It for what they tried to accomplish it and having actual like speaking role for that long, I give them a bit of room, but yeah, just besides that, Luke was handled really well. I wouldn't be hurt if we never saw him again. I think he served his purpose for now, and I don't really think he needs a role, in this universe at the moment. But yeah, I think they summed it up very well, and for now, it's a good pause. Unless there's another series where we'll see Grogu, but I think it's a good pause to his story for now.
All right, for our listeners, our viewers, we apologize for the technical difficulties. We've been having a couple of them. But we're going to go ahead and talk about this post-credit scene. I'm going to throw it over to Jake because I know that you're excited about this.
Yeah, man, this was awesome. This is probably the best scene in the episode, possibly the season. But just the way that they did this scene was epic. It was so cool just to see him walk in there with Fennec like they own the place, right? And he kills Bib Fortuna and takes the throne. And just the way that he sits there, being the new ruler, right? And Fennec grabs a drink and they're just having a blast there, right? So it'll be really cool to see where it goes from here. Him getting his revenge on Jabba and taking over his empire. And I think we're all really looking forward to the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, was that like some hard blue milk or something? Ethan, did you have any thoughts on this?
No, I think Jake wrapped it up pretty well. It was really cool just to see that Boba, yes, he is not a good character. We get that vibe from him a lot this season just because he's helping out Mando. But it's nice to see that Boba's back in the same role that he was, and he has his own agenda. And it's good to see him on that throne.
And I do believe that is Jawa juice.
Oh, is it?
Drinking.
Okay.
It does look like what Obi-Wan drinks in episode 2.
This
And
is why you're the co-host, man.
They are on Tatooine, so I would guess it is Jawa juice. I don't know if the Jawas make it. I don't know where that name comes from. And made with Jawas, I don't know. Who knows?
I think you're right. I think that's a really good guess. I think that's solid.
Awesome.
I was just gonna say I also really like this post-credit scene. For a while, I was kind of the mindset that I didn't know if I wanted more Boba Fett like live action because even though we don't get a whole lot of him in the original trilogy, he was always really cool because we knew from like the books um, that he was like the most dangerous, um, best bounty hunter in the galaxy. But now we're starting to see why they've been handling it so well with him in this show. That even though I liked having that mystery, I'm okay with what they're doing. I think that it's really cool and definitely has built up a lot of anticipation for me and this Book of Boba Fett series, which is what I'll get into now. I've heard some speculation that this is a separate show. I've also heard some rumors that this is like a break for the Mandalorian, that this is kind of part of the Mandalorian too. But Jake, what are your thoughts on this?
No, I definitely think it is a standalone show. They did mention season 3 of Mandalorian airing Christmas 2021, and this show is supposed to be airing December 21st, 2021. So it looks like they'll be going along right beside each other. But no, it'll definitely be cool to see more of Boba Fett. It kind of makes it sound by the title like it could be a prequel of sorts. I don't know if they'll go back and forth between the present and the past. But yeah, definitely, like you were saying, we don't know much about him. So it'll be definitely be cool to learn more about Boba Fett.
Yeah, definitely. Ethan, did you have any final thoughts on the book of Boba Fett?
Yeah, I think I'm really curious to see what they do with the show. There's obviously a lot that hasn't been explored with Boba's past after Return of the Jedi. But they set up his future very well in this post-credit scene too. So I'm curious to see what they do. Boba's always had a really good screen presence throughout all the movies, even though he never had much of a role. He just always had this commanding presence as a bounty hunter. So I'm really curious to see that continue on his show.
Yeah. Jake, I'd like to know your final thoughts on this season finale and season 2 overall, and then we'll throw it over to Ethan.
Yeah, I think they really came with it. They brought it their all, and it was everything that we wanted and more. I felt like definitely just overall better than season 1, and that was great to begin with. But it'll be interesting to see where they go, because we still have some loose ends to tie up with a Darksaber and Mandalore. But what's going to happen in season 3? When is Grogu going to be missing for the majority of it? Because I mean, he's got to go train with Luke. I mean, that could take years, but who knows? Or if it could be more of what people are thinking, that maybe Luke doesn't want to train Grogu because he has that fear and the attachment to Din Djarin, and maybe he'll kind of be leaning more towards the dark side, or really just be his own guy that he is. So I'll be interested to see where it goes.
Yeah, Ethan, final thoughts on the episode and the season.
This episode was a very good wrap up to this season. I think they closed down a lot of arcs that we were curious about. They paused Grogu's for now, but they also they explained the Darksaber, and I think we have a good sense on what's going to happen next season on Mandalore. This season, they stepped it up so much. The scale of it was insane. Since episode 1, the scale of it and was just way bigger, and I enjoyed every bit of it. So yeah, I'm very excited for next season.
Yeah, I echo everything the two of you have said. I really, really liked season 1, but I absolutely loved season 2, and it's everything that we would want just from them stepping it up to the CGI, to the choice of directors and how well the directors did this season, the fight choreography. Just everything was really up to par, if not beyond our expectations and our hopes. So really looking forward to season 3. We're going to start closing up our episode, but first we're going to address a couple of questions or speculations from a couple of our friends. And so we're going to start with our friend Justin. And he says, the beginning of the end of The Mandalorian. So kind of feel like maybe that's a negative take. Maybe he sort of saw things in a different light. I think we're kind of all on the same page for the most part, that we liked how things have turned out. I think that there's a lot of positive things to take away and to look forward to. In particular, the storyline with the Darksaber, which is really interesting. And like Ethan mentioned earlier, they've helped the audience who doesn't really know the backstory. They have helped give them really good context with this, and like really explain very well how it's going to tie into the story later. So I don't think it's the beginning of the end. I actually think that we're just getting started here. Ethan, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I still think there's definitely a lot to look forward to. A Mandalore arc will be very entertaining if that's what they decide to do next season, which that's what it seems like. And it will be sad to not see Grogu as much. but I'm sure we'll see him at some point. It's hard to imagine that we won't. As to how they would do that, who knows? But yeah, I'm very excited for next season. I don't think it's going to be slowing down.
Jake, let me get your thoughts on this real quick. Um, the positive thing about doing Star Wars shows as opposed to movies is that you can really explain a story and really break down a story over a longer time. And also, when it comes to maybe negative takes, maybe a certain episode didn't work for some people, it's like, okay, that was one episode. I'm hoping for something else next episode, and maybe they'll like it then. That didn't work. I still have more episodes to look forward to. You know what I mean? What are your
Mhm.
thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think it could be the beginning of the end of the Grogu show, which I mean, it's
Hmm.
not always a bad thing. So yeah, I think there'll definitely be a few episodes we won't see him next season. But just look at this season, episode 7 with Bill Burr. That was one of the best episodes of the season, and Baby Yoda Grogu wasn't in it at all. This show is more than just him. So if you're just watching it for Grogu, you should be getting sucked in to the rest of the Star Wars lore, and I don't think it's going to disappoint. Just because we won't see him for a few episodes, I think there's plenty of characters. The side characters have all been excellent this season. I think we've all enjoyed them a lot, and so I think this show has a lot more to go with it. And I mean, we know he'll be back, so I think if people just hang tight. If you're not liking the episodes that he's not in, you'll see him again.
Yeah, and like when Din was holding him and he said, I'll see you again, I promise." I think it wasn't just for Grogu. I think it was for the audience as well. And like, I think the majority, if not everyone, loves Grogu, but Din Djarin is an amazing new character as well. And there's still so much that we have yet to see from him. So we will move on to the next question. Let's see. From Bill. Oh, we already talked about it. Um, he asked if is Book of Boba Fett separate from Mandalorian or if it's a spinoff. We're thinking that it's looking like a spinoff. And then just a couple, or just one more comment from Ashley and Anthony. Best ending ever. I totally agree. Um, Even though we would have liked something different or better from the CGI, um, it was just awesome to see Luke again. And yeah, I think they closed it out really strong.
Yeah, definitely. I think, yeah, on our recap show of the last episode, we just had so many questions of what's going to happen in this final episode. And not exactly every single one got answered, but it leaves you satisfied, just looking forward to next season, but not feeling like we just still have too many questions.
Definitely. We're going to start wrapping things up. Jake, we are done with The Mandalorian for now until next year, but we're still going to be putting out some Star Wars shows. Did you want to talk about maybe a couple of ideas that we're thinking about doing?
Yeah, we do have a lot of ideas for everything, not just Star Wars. But as far as Star Wars goes, definitely want to have some debates about certain episodes that definitely fell flat. Talking about episode 8 because that one was terrible, and for some reason you like it. So I'll be interested to hear your thoughts on that. But yeah, we'll just take a look at different moments of Star Wars universe that we enjoyed. We do have shows coming quickly, such as Bad Batch. I think it's the next one to be released of the new Star Wars shows. And then once the shows start rolling out, I think we're going to have a lot of content.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, real quick, like, I mean, people make a list of like their favorite Star Wars episodes, and like I feel like most people put Attack of the Clones at the bottom. But for me, I try and look at even though the stuff that I don't like, the episodes I don't like, I still just try to take away what I do like. Um, and so, like hearing about Jake's love for episode 2, even though that's at the bottom of my list, I still like a lot of things about episode 2. So we've even talked about talking about that episode and maybe doing a watch along, something like that would be cool, and diving into that some more. So a lot more ideas. Definitely Bad Batch when that comes out. But yeah, it's been a really fun show. I want to thank Jake, our co-host. Always does an awesome job being on here and giving his input. And thank you to our special guest, Ethan. Thanks a lot, man, for coming on. It's been fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And we thank our audio listeners and our YouTube viewers. Please continue to show us support on our channel, like, subscribe, and we'll have more shows coming your way. We're signing off. Thank you very much. We'll see ya.
Until next time, see ya.